All right, everybody say change is good. How many of you don't like change? The rest of you are probably lying. Let's start out with prayer this morning. Yeah, change is difficult, but change is good. It was just funny. We were in the office just a few minutes ago, and Derek said, okay, this must be the 17th position this office has been rearranged in. Because PK is always changing stuff. Somebody say change. My mama was awesome. We would come home and not know where anything is at because she would always move the furniture. You get up in the middle of the night to go somewhere and everything's all moved around. But the truth is, whether you like change or not, the only thing that doesn't change is that which ceases to live. That's right. So you're either changing good or you're changing bad. You know what I'm saying? Like when you're young, you're changing good. You hope for that day when you get a little facial hair. You don't know what I'm talking about. Nobody here? Nobody here? You know what I'm saying? You're 14, talking about, I got one right here. See that? See that? Right? And then you get older and hair comes, but you ain't waiting for it. In places it shouldn't be. What? Change is gonna happen. The truth is, you can make a change for good, or you can allow your life to change for the negative. And that's what I'm gonna talk about for just a few minutes. Is that all right? Yeah. And so then I want to subtitle today, what the if? Can I do that? Okay, so I'm gonna ask you a question here. Have you ever had a big dream and a big goal? Yeah. Did you ever say, man, I could do that if? All right, what's the if, Marcus?
If I had more money.
Look at here, how many of you feel like Marcus? Man, I could do it if I only had some more. All right, Anthony, I could do it if
I would have studied harder.
if I'd have went to school. You ever feel that way? Everybody say if. I could do better if. She's like, I don't care, I can't do better. No, you can.
If I was braver.
If I was braver. You like that? Life would be better if
I had a better education.
I had a better education. If. Look, someone say if. I wonder what if in your life has stopped you from doing something great for God. And so today I want to challenge the if, and I want to go, what the if? What the if? And I know I'm already made some of you mad, like, did he just say F or if? Well, he's Mexican, I can't understand his accent. What the if did he just say? I want to take you to a biblical story found in 2 Kings and chapter 7. If I will, I know you're spiritual, so go home and read it. I just kind of want to paraphrase it for you. This is verses 1 through 7, okay? And it starts off by saying this. It says that there's a great famine in the land, a huge famine in the land. And he said that a piece of barley is going to be sold for a piece of silver, a piece of gold. And so let me give you, for instance, here's what he's saying. He's saying the poverty is so great in the land right now that you can buy a gallon of gas for $35 a gallon. Can you imagine that? How many of you gonna buy a moped if that was it? Hey, I'm taking the bicycle, right? He's saying it's so bad right now. Beef is $35 a pound of beef. That's kind of the scenario that they were in right now. And so then, but the man of God comes to that situation and he says something so dumb. He said, by this time tomorrow, gas is gonna be 35 cents a gallon and beef is gonna be 35 cents a pound. And the smart guy, somebody say the smart guy. The economist for the valley looked at him and goes, that will never happen. Even if God himself opened the heavens like he did in the book of Genesis in the time of Noah and dropped this big old flood, by the time we plant a seed, that seed gets roots, it grows up, it gets roots. Tomorrow, he said, you're crazy. And man, I just love the conflict that starts because God, you know, sometimes as Christians, we're too politically correct. Elijah didn't have any political correctness at all. Elisha, he just bantered right back. He goes, oh no, it's gonna happen. You'll get to see it, but you won't eat any of it. Should have kept your mouth shut. I love the prophets. And then I look at God, and if you haven't told by now, I'm just a storyteller, so stay with me. I look at God, and the whole script changes. We're in this awesome conflict of economical stress and strategy to overcome, and got a word of God, and the very next thing is squirrel. Oh, by the way, there are 4 lepers who are sitting on the outside of the camp. Who cares about lepers? Who cares about lepers? And so I'm going to break this down for you here really quick. I just got to tell you that the real problem in society is supply and demand. Right? The reason there was drought was because there was no water to produce fruit, and so everything was really expensive. Everything was really high, and so nobody could afford it because the supply was limited and the demand was great. And to that, God brings a story of 4 lepers. Can I say something to you? I don't know about you, but sometimes when I start looking at politics, I start looking at America, I start getting nervous. I start thinking, God, if I say Donald Trump, some of you will go, yes, and half of you will go, look, you couldn't even laugh. If I said Hillary, some of you are gonna go, yeah, and half of you are gonna go like, oh my God. Aren't you glad that our hope does not remain on who the President of the United States of America? Aren't you glad? See, I understand now why God went squirrel. I get it. Because if it was up to us, we'd be in the conversation with the king and the economics. But God's like, you don't understand that on the other side of your supply and demand, I got a plan. God's got a plan. I don't know about you, but I like my plans in a portfolio with charts and graphs. I like to know where we're headed. Come on, how long it's going to take to get there, and what is my expectation at the end of this product? And here's God's plan. I got 4 lepers. I got 4 lepers. Why would God choose 4 lepers to put on the scene of this great problem? And all I could do was think about who I am. All I could think about was how I live my life. You know, have you ever asked God, have you ever said this to God, life ain't fair? Yeah, don't ever ask God for justice.
That's right.
Why did God choose, I'm Todd, 4 lepers? God, give me a chariot. Give me somebody coming down with an army. 4 lepers. 4 lepers. I wonder why God chose 4 lepers. You know what these lepers were? The outcasts of the community. Nobody wanted to be with them. Nobody thought they were worth building a relationship with. Nobody thought they were worth being around. As a matter of fact, they were really sick. It wasn't like somebody was faking leprosy. They were really sick. And they really had problems. And I just want to ask anybody here today, have you ever felt like you were an outcast? Have you ever felt like you were rejected? Can I just be honest? Have you ever felt like you had a legitimate problem? There's sometimes I wake up in the morning going to church on Sunday and I'm like, God, I don't know why you chose me. I don't even like these people. Oh, I'm the only one, right? I'm the only one who get up in the morning. Some of you serving snack over there like, here you go. Eli, what are you talking about? Can I just be honest? Can I just be honest? If we took a close look at you, wouldn't we find a little leprosy? If we just kind of roll back the sleeves a little bit, would we find somebody whose life has been rejected? Would we find somebody who's been name called and forgotten? Would we find somebody who's been rejected by others and perhaps bears in their body and in their life some types of rejection and some types of anger and maybe some type of hate? Is there anybody in here that would say, Pastor Eli, well, I think I got a little leprosy?
Come on, man.
Yeah? I got some amazing news for you. I don't have a cure for leprosy. So you're out of luck on that end. But I do have this great news. Donald Trump, Hillary Clinton, and the whole legislation of the United States of America was not selected to bring healing to this community. You know who the answer is for New Life LA? You know who the answer is for this community? You know who the answer is for racism? You're looking at it. You know who the answer is for poverty? You're looking at them. You know who the answer is for hopelessness? They're right next to you. You know who the answer for prostitution is? She's right next to you. Do you know the hope of the world is in this room right now, sitting right next to you? Oh man, I know you thought you were coming to a church service, but I'm here to tell you that you are the hope. This whole world it's only got you. It's only got you. That's why you're here today. Because we all been, the church is the last thing anybody looks to anymore.
That's right. That's right.
We're the last thing, we're the joke, man. We can't even get along with each other. We're on the outskirts fighting for scraps as if though we're not the son of a king or the daughter of a king. But I want to remind you today, let me slow down. Slow down. You don't believe. And here's what we come for. We come so that Pastor could preach us a word that would appease us in our situation. And we stop believing because of our leprosy that we're the hope for the world. You really are the hope of the world. You really are. Now, I'm going to ask you this. What would you do if you believed that you were the hope of the world?
That's a good word.
What would you do? What would you do? What would you do when you go home today? Listen, God's team is about to play in a few minutes. The Dallas Cowboys are about to take the field. You can reject me, but I'm overcoming with this leprosy. I'm telling you right now. You could have all the football in the world. See, football doesn't heal leprosy. Football doesn't heal it. I love football. I love watching football with my friends. I love the fellowship. But we have a culture right now who has given themselves, who have lost who they are in the Lord and have got themselves carried away. And I feel like I need to stay here for a minute because you don't believe who you are. Pastor, you don't know my story. I really don't. But my responsibility is not to tell you about your past.
Say it.
But I'm here to remind you who God says you are. Who you are. Pastor, I'm busy. No, who are you? You're the one. Hanging out with OJ, and we were shopping, and he cracks me up, man. And I showed him these pants, and he's like, "Oh, you wear them pants, Pastor Eli?" I'm like, "Yeah, you need to hook him up, OJ." He goes, "I'm not the one." I'm not the one. Look at somebody say, "I don't fit them." How long will you come to church and feel like you're the misfit? Like you're not the one? You're the one. You're the one called forward to show the glory of God in every area of your life. You got to know you're the one. You're the one. You're the one. Pastor Eli, I'm just 10 days clean. I don't care if you ain't clean. You're the one. Pastor Eli, my marriage, we just got a divorce. Listen to me. Your leprosy does not stop your destiny. I got notes and I'm gonna get to them in a minute, but just let me be who I am for just a moment, all right? I gotta get this into you. See, we keep buying into you guys that the church responsibilities come on Sunday, do a little project. Listen to me, sir, you are called to transform your world. But you can't transform the world if your leprosy is bigger than your destiny.
I love that.
You tracking with me?
Yes, sir.
You're called to change the world. If the world doesn't change, it's because you and I didn't step forward. I know nobody likes to hear that, right? Pastor, don't put that on me. Well, who's it going to be on? You know, God is not American. I don't know if you know that. God showed up and he had a conversation with Cain, and he said, Cain, where your brother at? And Cain tried to be American. My brother ain't my business. He a grown man. And God goes, oh, it's going to be like that, huh? What if God gave LA to you? Are you ready? And what if God gave LA you? What if you're the hope to this community? What if you're the hope? I want you, for the next few minutes, to just raise your hand. Just throw your hand up. I want to go to my notes. I really do, because this is my safe place. I like preaching from my notes. But, well, actually, put your hands down. Yeah, are you ready? If you have trouble believing, and I want you to be honest, just be honest. If you have trouble believing, you're the one. Pastor Eli, it can't be me. And I want you to be honest. If you have trouble believing, you're the one. I don't care if you're in leadership. I don't care what area of ministry you're in today. If you have trouble believing you're the one, I want to pray for you. I want to pray for you in the next 30 seconds. Let me tell you a story. 20 years ago, we walked into a very packed, anointed conference. Man, it was so awesome. So awesome. But I was receiving a word from the Lord. And I was only 25 years old, 20 years ago. Didn't have a whole lot of confidence, but was building my relationship with God. And you're not gonna believe this, but I saw a young man on the stage. Everybody was gone. There was nobody in the sanctuary. Everybody was gone. And the Lord said, you go share what I shared with you with that young man right there. And I said, okay, God. That young man was in the middle of a struggle and a challenge. And the word the Lord gave me caused the confidence to come inside of him. He actually turned down a job offer to stay in his destiny. But you know what? He was dealing with leprosy. And that word, that moment reminded him that one day God would position him in a place that needed him. And his obedience would cause an absolute outgrowth of God's love. And that person is sitting right here in the front row. With his leprosy, he made a decision to step into his destiny. And today, many of you are saved because one man's obedience to overcome and accept the fact that God chose him. Now, I'm going to ask you today, how many of you are struggling to believe you're the one? I see one hand. Yeah, I just need you to raise a hand. Okay. Would you do me a favor? Just stand up for a minute. If you didn't raise your hand, don't stand up. You'll see it tomorrow, but you won't participate. Can I get just a little background music, bro? Just a little bit. Are you guys okay this Sunday morning? I want everybody who stood up, just put your hands like this. Say, Father, today, I push away disbelief. I push away fear. I'm asking you, let me see what you see for me. Help me understand that while I was nothing, in your hands, I'm everything. Help me understand that while I was in my mother's womb, you met me there. You formed me. And before I was ever released in earth, I was released into my destiny. Today, Father, I accept your call for my life. I accept your place in my life. I will no longer live in disbelief. But today, I open my arms to your plan for my life. And I'm asking you right now, Jesus, use my life as I give it away to you. Now I want you to close, man. I'm going to be 10 minutes. I'm going to be out of here. Everybody say that short preacher never tells the truth. Okay, I'm just gonna give this to you really quick because I think that's what you need. You need to believe in you. You need to believe in God in you. Okay, so everybody say if. What the if? Here's the three things they asked. Ready? What if we go back? Somebody say go back. I want to say this to you. Anytime you start talking about go back, you're in if. Are you ready? Here it is. In fear. Here's your if. Whenever you go back, you're in fear. So three things, all right? Three things. There's nothing back there. Somebody say there's nothing back there. Here's why people go back. They're in fear, and so they feel like they're no good. So everybody say self-esteem. There's no food for your self-esteem because you feel inferior back in Egypt. No food for your self-esteem. Right, watch this. There's no food for your healing. There's impractical frustrations, and no food for your future. It's inaccessible freedom, okay? Here's the ifs. When you go back, it's because you feel inferior, you feel impractical frustrations, inaccessible frustration. Everybody say if. All right, check this out. No food for your self-esteem. If he didn't love you then, he ain't gonna love you when you come back. Here's what the world tells you. Come back, baby, I love you. Baby, come back. Listen, if he didn't love you the first time, how you know he's gonna love you the second time? It's a ploy of the enemy to make you feel inferior. Don't go back. The world don't got nothing back. Pastor, I'm down. So is everybody else you around. You follow what I'm saying? How down are you gonna go before you figure out that everybody else around you is gonna stay down? Does that make sense? So don't go back because that's inferior. Everybody say inferior. Here's the second thing the enemy wants to go back to. Impractical frustration. Pastor Eli, what does that mean? Listen, you're gonna get frustrated trying to live up to their expectations. Does that make sense? The world will always set the bar higher than what you expect. Soon as you come back, oh, you gotta do this. Oh, you wanna be with me, you gotta lose more weight. Oh, you gotta be with me, you gotta make more money. Hey boy, why ain't you like him? Hey girl, why ain't you like her? And as soon as you meet that expectation, come on, some of you nip it and tuck it. My God, act like I'm not in LA. Come on, somebody. Some of you nip it and tuck it, and you're still not good enough. You know why? Because there's impractical frustrations when you follow the world to try to go back to the mess that God brought you out of. Yeah, look at someone say, we're not going back. We're not going back. Here's the third thing. Ready? Inaccessible freedoms. Don't you know that the devil will never let you go? Don't you know that money will never let you go? Don't you know the flesh will never let you go? It offers an elusive freedom.
That's good.
It's elusive. You know how when you're 21, I'm free. What does that mean? You ain't got no money to pay no bills. You drinking cheap liquor because you want to be like everybody else. Man, I'm preaching by myself up here today. And here's what we're trying to do. We think we're free. Y'all think like you came up with YOLO. Y'all millennials, right? Y'all came up with YOLO. We didn't live YOLO a long time ago. We just didn't call it that. Right? And here's what we've learned. Are you ready? It's an unrealistic freedom. You're not going to have it. You're always chasing it, and it always goes away. Does that make sense? Look at somebody say, I'm not going back. That's what the 4 lepers had to come. Here was their if. If we go back, here's what they had. A feeling of inferiority, you're not good enough, impractical frustrations, inaccessible freedoms. Here's the third thing, right? If we stay here and do nothing, so if we go back, there ain't no food there, we're gonna die. Everybody say, what the if? If we stay here, we're gonna die. But let me tell you what stay here means. All right, here's what stay here means. Watch this. He wants us to settle. The enemy wants us to settle in disease, discomfort, and demise. Let me break the if down for you. If I settle in disease, in dis-ease, I'm in idle faith. What does that look like, Pastor Eli? Ooh, man, if you knew PK, God can use PK, but he can't use me. You got faith for everybody, but no faith for you. That's disease. That makes sense? We feel good because we're in church. Ooh, did you see Todd up here? Ooh, Todd got on like this, had the microphone. Oh man, God can use Todd, but he can never use me. That's idle faith. That's where the enemy wants you to settle. Look at your neighbor and say, God can use me. You better back up. Watch, discomfort. Oh, you're gonna love this one, man. Everybody say discomfort. The enemy wants to keep us in discomfort. What is discomfort? Are you ready? Here's your if. Imaginative fantasy.
Yeah.
Imaginative fantasy. She says good now, but she haven't heard me explain it. Hold on. You know what imaginative fantasy is? Discomfort is when we hide our discomfort in other things. Watch this. You know why young men play so much video games? I know. Oh, my wife's mad. I gotta pay bills, I ain't got no money. But I got to the next level. Did you see that? I got to the next level. And you on Facebook. I got to the next level, dog. Hey, you wanna get on tonight, 2 o'clock in the morning? How you 30 years old living at your mama's house playing video games at 2 o'clock in the morning? Oh, I get it. You're in discomfort. You've settled to a life, and now all you have is imaginative fantasies. Wow. That's all you got. The only way you can win is here. Know what I'm saying? You know why women like soap operas and chick flicks? I wish my man would be like that. You know why you're so caught up in that? Listen, I know, I'm making some folk mad. Just stay with me. It's disease. We settle. Somebody say we settle. Well, listen, you like her life because you don't have one. Can I preach behind you, boss? Can I preach behind you? I'm getting some looks, man. Oh my God. Get your husband, throw some pink stuff in the room, throw on a leopard outfit, put some music on, and get your own romance going. What you talking about? I need reality TV. Put your own show on. Oh, snap. Some of you know more about your college favorite athlete stats than you know about your own future. What you doing next week? How many touchdowns did this guy have? Oh, man, when he was in high school, he didn't even there, and we didn't even there. And you know why you know so much about everybody else's life? Because you don't have one. Because you've settled in discomfort.
Come on, y'all.
I know, man, I know. I'm gonna say, hurry up. I'm hurrying. And the final thing was to settle in failure. Anybody here make a mistake? Anybody here make a big mistake? Anybody here make a real big mistake? Let's settle this right now. No matter how big your mistake is, it's not bigger than the God you serve. It's not bigger. Settle it right now. Settle it right now. The enemy wants to label you a bankrupt. The enemy wants to label you a divorcee. The enemy wants to label you a scoundrel. But before he dropped the gavel of judgment, God intervened, sent his son to die on a cross, and labeled you forgiven. Forgiven. Yeah, Pastor, I get it. No, some of you still wake up in the morning and the first thing you think about is your broken marriage. First thing you think about is your old bankruptcy. I got 7 years. 7 years to God can be one day. It can be 7 minutes. It can be one relationship. Stop living your life settling in past failures. So if I go back, I'm going to die. The if. If I stay here, I'm going to die. But if, everybody say if. See, if don't change when you want to go forward. That's what everybody wants, security. Well, Pastor, what if it fails? What if it doesn't? You know you go back to that old lifestyle, they're bankrupt. They're in famine, they're gonna die, you know. You know if you stay here, you're gonna die. But if you may die going forward, but what if you went forward and you didn't die? What if you didn't? Pastor, you're like, how do I change my life? 3 things. Ready? Throw yourself to God's mercy. Because now you're going from living in fear to living in faith. I need mercy. I need mercy, man. I need mercy. You know why we're afraid to try something? Because we're afraid of all this other stuff. Failure, condemnation, people's accusations and criticism. But you know what mercy does? Mercy voids all that stuff out. Mercy voids all that stuff. I'm going to say mercy. Why throw yourself at God's mercy? Because if God chose me, Anthony, because I was good enough, I could look back and go, look at me. Aren't I good? You would say, Pastor Eli, people don't do that. Oh, no, they do. In church. Oh, yeah, check me out. See, but when you throw yourself at God's mercy and God takes your broken life, takes your jacked up situation, takes you with your leprosy, and then begins to do something with your life, you can never look back and go, it was me. The only thing you could do is point your hand to heaven and say, had it not been for the goodness of God, where would I be? If it wasn't for the goodness of the Lord, I wouldn't even be here today. Come on, somebody. You know your wife comes home not because you're that good. She comes home because God has mercy on your life. Here's the second thing. Are you ready? Throw yourself into God's moment. Throw yourself into God's moment. Here these guys were. There was enemies at the camp. They didn't know what was there. They threw themselves at God's mercy, and then they threw themselves into the moment. Now, I'm going to tell you when Christianity gets boring. People tell me, Eli, being a Christian is boring, and I'm going to push back with a simple answer. Are you ready? It's kind of prophetic. Sounds kind of like a prophet. No, church isn't boring. You are. Listen, when you go back and you're going to die and you stay here, you're going to die, but you have this opportunity to move forward, and there's this hidden risk. There's this big, oh my God, what if, right? The problem is church gets boring when you lose your what if. When was the last time you looked at a coworker and you thought, what if I shared my faith with them? When was the last time you thought about that if? That makes sense? Most of the ifs are, God, could you please get me out of here? If you get me out of here, this is what I'll do. God, if you. And God's like, yeah, when are you going to take your if and live in your if? You want to live an exciting life? Live in the if of God's moment. What is the if of God's moment? Have you ever had the courage to tell somebody, and then all of a sudden this gospel, this love, this amazing passion starts coming out of you, and you start watching people, tears come down their eyes. People didn't even like you. Now they're calling you up, and now they're talking to you. Have you ever been there? If you haven't, that's what's missing in your life. If you have, that's the moment you got to live in. That's the gospel, living in that moment. Pastor, I just want to come here, PK, preach another message. Listen, his throat hurts today. You're lucky I'm here. What if he didn't preach this week? What if they closed our churches down? What if God just wanted you to share your faith? Next week, we're going to start a series. Series is called Unmask. Here's the third thing I'm going to say to you today that these men did. Are you ready? They threw themselves into God's ministry. Somebody you know needs to be here next weekend. PK, when they finally got there, I have so much to say, but when they finally got there, Todd, poor people, you know how poor people act, right? No? Okay, all about myself. I'm a poor person. They got there and there was nobody there. I'd like to tell you about the big blessing, the big problem, but I'm gonna just tell you how humans react. The first thing they did is they started eating because they hadn't ate. It was a famine. They went from that tent to the next tent. You know what they did in the other tent? You ever been full and ate because you were still hungry? It's your eyes, right? Your eyes, oh my God, I haven't seen food like that. They went into another tent and they ate. Now watch this. What disease did they have? What does leprosy do to you at the end? Kills you. They started getting silver. They started doing this. Right? This is the funny part. Then they took silver and they started burying it in the sand. They started a savings account. And they weren't even going to be around to enjoy it.
Right. Wow.
You know what started happening? What started happening at that moment is the leprosy that was on their body started seeping into their heart. Here's what they said. Why would we give that city any of this? They rejected us. They talked about us. They're the ones who kicked us out. Hey, if they had faith like us, hey, favor ain't fair. We throw Christian lingo, are you ready this? To defend ourselves from the leprosy that seeps into our heart. Some of us have been in church for years, and the only person who has eaten from your blessing has been you and a chosen few. God didn't select you so that you could harbor your blessing in a tent. God didn't bless you so that you could bury your silver. Come on, Mr. Businessman. It's all gonna leave. Nobody's gonna bury you with your gold. You tracking with me? Eli, what are you saying? If you're in the marketplace, what are you doing to evangelize your marketplace? Abraham was both priest and prophet. He was, priest and king. He was able to navigate the kingdom of finances and at the same time minister to all those who he was around. What are you doing as a believer? I'm gonna end like this. I'm gonna end with a call to action. You may never have me back again. You're thinking, Pastor Eli, Pastor Keith, let's wait a year before we bring that guy back. But let me say this to you. I don't want you to come alone next week. I want you to start believing that the reason you live in that apartment complex is because there are people there who are in famine and about to die, and they need what you got. They gotta have it. The reason you're in that workplace is because there are people around you who need what you have. And the world becomes exciting again. I don't know why Pastor Keith didn't have me get up there and sing the national anthem. I don't know why Todd did the offering. If Pastor Keith could hear me do the offering, he put me up there. Look at the scraps we fight over. The scraps we fight over while the world around us. No wonder we get so sick in the church, fighting for positions and titles while people are lost. I want to encourage you, New Life LA. Pastor Eli, this is my first Sunday here, dude. You're going to be better than everybody else. All these other jokers we got to drag. If it's your first time here, welcome. Bring somebody with you next week. You're going to find love, hope, and opportunity. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm actually going to ask you to do something. How many of you got 3 people you know? Maybe they might not even like you, but you got 3 people you know that need to come to church. Now you ain't even going to raise your hand, huh? Let me see your hand. Come on, let me see your hand. You got 3 people you know need to be at church. Marcus, you count that side of the room. Get your hand up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 1, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 7, 49, 56, 57, 58, 59, 60, 63. Okay. I got 63 people. How many people you got over there? 50. That was a nice guess, Marcus. Derek, you should have helped this young man out, Derek. Oh, man. Imagine if we had 110 people next Sunday bring 3 new families, 3 new people to hear the message of unmasked. You know how much pain they need to unmask? You know how much struggle they've been living through? And all I want to say today, look, I'm out of here. I'm on a plane in 4 hours. But I wanted to leave this thought in your heart today. Perhaps, just maybe, God has blessed you because the people around you need what you have. And I want to challenge you. Don't make coming to church your objective. Pastor Eli, that's a hard message. That's a hard message. Honestly, 4 minutes. I'm watching the time. I'm out of here. I'll turn this over to PK in a minute. I'm going to give you something that's going to revolutionize your life. Are you ready? Here it is. If this makes you uncomfortable, it's only 2 reasons. Old Christians want to live like new Christians. Ready? How many know that God accepts us? How many know that God accepts you no matter what you do? Yeah? Here's where old Christians get it twisted. We think God approves what he accepts. He doesn't approve. He doesn't approve. He doesn't approve. Watch this. I'll just give it to you in a for instance because you're already looking at me mean and I was already coming to my end and now I got to explain it. If my child was 2 months old and I handed him a steak, you would look at me and go, Eli Moreno, what is wrong with you? That's how I can't eat a steak. How many of you recognize that's common sense, right? Right? But now if my 15-year-old comes to the refrigerator and goes, hey, Dad, we have any more of that formula? Makes himself a bottle and sits on the couch watching. How many know that I still accept him? But I don't approve of that. How you come to church for 15 years and you still coming alone? Right? How do we make a habit of coming to church, watch this, and it's all about me? God bless me. Look at someone say, that's sheep talk. Bless me. I need me. It's okay when you're this small. I run my daddy's arms. Todd, he picked me up. If I did that now, I'd break his back. He's 74. Right? Here's what I'm saying. New Life LA. Let's go. Let's go. You don't need a whole lot. Just the story that you got. Just a little bit of food that you found. God's gonna take care of the rest, but let's go. Get up on your feet. Get excited about the God you serve. Get excited about the church that God put you in. Get excited about the season you're in. And let's let the world know. The end is this, Todd. God used them and he never got rid of their leprosy. I don't know. I have an explanation. But I'm going to do this. With my shortness, with my weaknesses, I was the kid in the family who was never going to make it. My dad's prayer for me was, God, please don't let my son wind up in prison. But God took a leper and turned his life around. And all I'm trying to do is tell every pastor in the community, every church attender that I ever go to, and every person that I ever sit down with, that there's a great story that God wants to live out through their life. And if they'll have an opportunity to believe God for it, you're not too old and you're not too young to begin to share with those around you the goodness of God in your life. Would you stand to your feet with me?